Okay, now this is a packet. You just got this kind of a little while ago. I know some of you aren't going to want to sit through these examples because you do have problems at the end to do. At least be with me through these first three I go, but I'm not going to do these three. I'm going to do this one, and then I'm going to skip around a little bit so I think you're well prepared to work on your own. Okay, so I'll come back, but okay, so factor out the GCF. Now you're actually going to do this. You're going to make a box kind of right here, not huge, and then you make a parentheses with a space outside. Then over here you write GCF. So the first thing you see is if the very first number, the 12, is negative. It's not, so our GCF is going to be positive. Then I see that we have x on both of these, okay? So x to the second, x to the first. So we want to put x to the first here. And then for the large numbers, 12 and 6, I go to that GCF calculator that you have access to, okay? And if I don't ever have it, you just Google search greatest GCF calculator, and it's right there. So I go 12 and 6. And I get a GCF of 6. Okay, so 6x to first. Now remember what we do with the GCF. We write 6x to the first on the line. Then we come over here and we divide by 6x to the first. Okay, now if they have the same power, you can cross them out. So these are different, but these are the same. Okay? And remember what I do from there. I take 12 divided by 6. That's 2, but you didn't cross out the x's, so you got to put x behind that 2, and then you got to minus the powers, so 2 minus 1 is 1. Okay, now on the other one, that's a negative 6 divided by 6, and you get negative 1. So if you get negative 1, you don't write plus 1, you just write minus 1. And if these are both 1 powers, you can get rid of them, okay? And we just factored it. 6x times 2x minus 1. Okay, now I'll come back to these three, but for those that want to work ahead, I'm going to go do the next one on the next page, the second problem. Okay, so again, make your box. You just make a parentheses with a line outside. Okay, and GCF, negative in front, and you have x on both these, x second, x first. So x to the first is the GCF. Now 5 and 5, this computer won't take the same number. You just use that number, 5, okay? So 5x to the first comes out, and then I divide by whatever's here, 5x to the 1, 5x to the 1. So the 2 and the 1, don't cross them out. We can cross these out, though, because they're both 1s. Okay, and I divide 5 by 5. I get 1. And then on x, you take 2 minus 1. You get 1. Okay, so x to the 1. Okay, and then in the other division, we have negative 5. Remember, minus is a negative. Divided by 5 is negative 1. So if it's negative 1, we write minus 1. We can take these powers out of here, okay? Because they're both 1s. If they're not both 1s, you can't get rid of them. Okay, now I'm going to go to the next page. I'll do this one here, okay? GCF. Now, one thing you have to pay attention to, if the first number's negative, which it is, you need a negative GCF. If it's negative. And then I got x second, x1. It's a real easy thing to remember, but a lot of people don't. They just ignore it. Okay, if the first thing's negative, it has to be the first thing. Okay, and then on my computer I go 6 and 21, 6 comma 21. They're not the same numbers, so it'll give me and that's 3. Okay? Okay, so negative 3x to the 1 gets kicked out, and then we go divide by negative 3x to the 1. So that's 2 and 1, that's 1 and 1. We can get rid of those. So that's positive 2, and on x we take 2 minus 1. 2 minus 1 is 1. Okay, then we take 21 divided by negative 3, and that's negative 7. So if you got a negative, you don't write any plus, you just write subtraction 7. So get rid of those 1's, and we factored it. Negative 3x times 2x minus 7. Now on the assignment, I'm going to do number 1 kind of with you. Okay. Okay, so the GCF, do you have a negative in front? No, you don't. You have x on both of these? Yep. So x. You have 7 and 5, so we're not going to do 1, obviously. We're going to do 5. And then 6 and 3 on the GCF calculator. 6 comma 3 is 3. Okay, so 3x to the 5th. Okay, so 3x to the 5th power comes out, and then we go divide by 3x to the 5th. Okay, 7 and 5 are different powers, but 5 and 5 are the same. So I divide 6 by 3, and that's 2. And then 7 minus 5 is 2. Not 1, it's 2. Because again, 6 divided by 3 is 2, and then I take the 7 minus 5, that's 2. Okay, and then 3 divided by 3 is 1, okay? Now, you can't cross out either exponent because they're not 1s, so that's, leave it there. You only cross out the exponent if it's 1. Okay, you can work if you want. I'm going to keep doing examples. 5, 6, 7, 8, all of them, your GCF will be negative, so remember that. Okay, now this one, GCF, okay, the 12's not, the first number's positive, so it's positive, x fifth and x1, so we're going to have x1, and then let's look at 12 and 8, so 12 comma 8. Okay, 12 and 8, I got 4. As my GCF, so 4x to the first. So we undistribute 4x to the 1, and then we go divide. Okay, and the 5 and the 1 are different, but the 1's are the same, so those cancel. Okay, so I divide 12 by 4 to get 3. Then I didn't cross out the x, and on the x we have to take 5 minus 1, that's 4. So 3x to the 4th plus 8 divided by 4 is 2. Okay, so that's to the 4th, that's to the 1st, so we can get rid of the 1st but not the 4th. Okay. All right, next problem, 15x to the 3rd plus 20x. Okay. GCF. Okay. Negative in front, nope. Make the box first. The first number is positive, so the GCF's positive. X third, and that's a 1 there, so x to the 1 is what I take. And then I got 15 and 20. So let's see what it says about 15 and 20. Okay, I got 5. Okay. So 5x to the first. So you got 5x to the 1, and then you go up and divide by 5x to the 1. And the 3 and the 1 are different, but the 1 and the 1 are the same, so we can cross those out. Okay, so I divide 15 by 5, and I get 3. Then on x, I take 3 minus 1, and that's 2. Then I take 20 divided by 5, and that's 4. Cross out the 1, but you can't cross out the 2. Okay, GCF. This the first number is positive, so the GCF's positive. You have x second and x to the 1, so x to the 1. Okay, 64 and 16. So 64, 16. I got a GCF of 16, so 16x to the 1. So that's coming out. And I go up and divide by this thing. 16x to the 1, 16x to the 1. Now remember, when we're dividing by, when we put an x down there, we should be able to cross out an x somewhere. Not here because they're different. Here because they're the same. Okay, 64 divided by 16 is 4. 2 minus 1 is 1. Okay, 16 divided by 16 is 1. So 4x to the 1 minus 1. Okay, you can take the 1's away. And that's it. 16 times 4x minus 1. Okay, next problem. 3x to the 4th plus 16x to the 1st. So GCF. The first number is positive, so the GCF's positive. And you got x to the 1 in the GCF. That's the smaller of the two powers. And then we go 3 and 16. Okay, and it's telling me that's 1. Okay. So 1x to the 1 comes out here. And then go divide by it, 1x to the 1. Okay, now we cross these out, but not here. 3 divided by 1 is 3. Then on x, we take 4 minus 1. Okay, that's 3. So it'd be 3x to the 3rd. And then 16 divided by 1 is 16. Okay, the 3 can't be crossed out, but the 1 should be. Okay, 10x to the second power plus 10x, GCF equals. Okay, the first number's positive, so my GCF's positive. Then you have x on both. You take the smaller, and the GCF calculator is not going to take it if you punch in the same number twice. You just need to use that number for the GCF. 10x to the 1. Then I go up and divide. 10x to the 1, 10x to the 1. Okay, so the 2 and the 1 are different, but the 1 and the 1 are the same. Okay, you can't cross out the 10 and the 10. That only works with x's. Okay, so I divide 10 by 10, which is 1. Then on x, we take the 2 minus the 1. Well, that'd be 1. Plus 10 divided by 10 would just be 1 again. Okay, you can get rid of your first powers, and there you go. Okay, next problem, 20x to the second power plus 20x. So you do not have a negative in front. You have x to the second and x to the 1. So x to the 1. Okay, they're the same numbers, so we got 20. Okay. And we bring out 20x to the 1. So divide by 20x to the 1, 20x to 1. Again, don't do the GCF calculator if they're the same number. These cross out. And then 20 divided by 20 is 1. Then on x, we take 2 minus 1. That's 1. And then 20 divided by 20 is just going to be 1 again. We can cross out the first. We want to cross out. You need to cross out the first powers because what we're going to do next is going to be really hard if those first powers are there. Okay, next problem. Negative 4x to the second power plus 20x. So GCF. Well, the first thing. The first number is negative, so the GCF has to be negative. X second. If you don't make it negative when it's negative, it causes all sorts of problems later on. Okay, x to the 1. Okay, and then whatever number goes with the negative, we have to find the GCF out of 4 and 20. and that's 4. Okay, so negative 4x to the 1 comes out, and then we divide by negative 4x to the 1. Okay, so that's 1. 2 minus 1 is 1, so x to the 1. 20 divided by negative 4 is negative 5, so that's the same thing as, if it's negative, it has to be written as a subtraction of positive 5. And then, by the way, these cross out. Okay, those first powers, get them out of there. Just scribble them out. Okay. 2 more. GCF, negative in front. Yep. You have x second and x1. So x1's the GCF. Okay, then 3 and 6. You get 3. So negative 3x to the 1 comes out, and then we divide these by negative 3x to the 1. Negative 3 divided by negative 3 is 1. Then on x, you got 2 minus 1, and that's 1. Okay, then you got negative 6. That's a negative 6 divided by negative 3. I got positive 2, so I write plus 2. And get rid of those. You should have gotten rid of them at the start. Sorry, I didn't do it. Get those 1s out of there. Okay, and then the last problem. GCF, do you have a negative in the front? Yep, you do. You have x second, x1. Okay, 20 and 30. So 20, comma, 30. That's 10. So negative 10x to the 1 goes here, and then we go up and divide by negative 10x to the 1. Okay, so that's positive 2. Then on x, 2 minus 1 is 1, so it'd be 1. And then I divide positive 30 by negative 10. Now, what are you supposed to put if it's negative? Just minus 3. And then the 1s are eliminated because they're both the same power. And you can get rid of those 1s. Okay.